Merry Christmas, book boys and girls. Have you all been nice this year? Have you, Nick?
Yes.
Very hesitant there. It seems we have a murder on our hands.
There's no trace of hesitancy in my voice. I've been a saint.
Well, someone killed Mr. Simon Lee. That's right? That's his name.
Simeon.
Simeon. I'm
But
just
I
going to
wouldn't
call him
know,
Simon
'cause-
the whole episode because I'm not going to go through that extra E. I feel like that's just a little bit too much work. Anyways, what are we reading this year, Nick?
For this year's Christmas episode, we're reading Hercule Poirot's Christmas by Agatha Christie. Every year we try to read some kind of Christmas book, and every year I think we find ourselves scraping the bottom of the barrel because weirdly enough there aren't actually that many Christmas books. Seemingly you'd think that there's like thousands, but there only seems to be about maybe 5.
See, I was saying this to my friend. Like,
yeah,
we were struggling every year to find a Christmas related book. Like, is there anything else you can think of? And it's like, why don't you read the fucking Christmas story from the fucking Bible? You know what it actually is. I was like, oh, right.
we're so retarded. All right,
Anyway,
next year, Christmas 2026.
We've got a great one for you this
story
year.
Of Christmas. Yeah, this one is comparable.
Yeah,
This
biblical levels of
very. It's quite biblical. I'd say fairly biblical. It is written by the Agatha Christie, the Queen of Mystery.
They say God was a woman.
Apparently, I mean, at least at the time of when the edition that I read was published, and I do not know when it was published because it was a PDF version. Agatha Christie is apparently third most published person, or third most published author, I guess you could say.
Damn.
Behind the Bible and Shakespeare.
Oh, okay. So it actually is biblical levels.
Kind of biblical. I haven't seen any numbers on that. I'm pretty sure that the book that Xi Jinping, like his like biography or whatever, is like more published than all of them. But typical American imperialism to not include that in the statistics.
Yeah. Damn.
Anyway,
should have read Mein Kampf for Christmas.
This book was published 19th of December 1938. So they really pushed this out just before Christmas. I would have given it at least a month before. It retailed at 7 shillings and 6pence.
Okay, no one needs to know this. Fuck's sake.
So it features the legendary Belgian detective Hercule Poirot, which I'm sure most of us are somewhat familiar with. And yeah, it's one of her Christmas, her only maybe think her only Christmas themed book. Phil, are you aware of? Have you read any Agatha Christie before?
No, I've only like a pleb seen all those movies with the Nile and the train one. Yeah. I don't even.
Yeah. The recent movies, which are not bad. I really enjoyed the first one.
Yes. Have you read any of her other books?
I have read one of her books before, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, which I think it's the first one that she ever wrote.
Damn. How did that compare to this one?
Maybe it was an anticipation thing. I had tuned my anticipation, but I enjoyed Hercule Poirot's Christmas a lot more than the Mysterious Affair at Styles.
Okay. Nice.
I was still frustrated by the same things. I think, in both books. But it's probably an expectation thing. I kind of knew I expected how it would kind of unfold and how it would read and what not to expect.
Okay, well, let's bring all the criticism later. Let's try and stay festive here, guys. So I really liked how the book opened with this kind of, at least in my, I don't know if it said this in your edition as well, but it starts out with a little comment from her being like, I think her brother or something.
Her brother-in-law.
Yeah, her brother-in-law, that's right. I was like, oh, you've been recently criticizing my latest books for not being murdery enough, for not like having enough
they're
action.
Getting too refined and anemic, apparently.
Yeah. Which is, basically too girly. So she was like, well, this one has a lot of blood, so stay tuned for that. And then we get the Macbeth quote right after that, like, who would have thought the old man to have so much blood in him?
Yeah.
And that kind of got me pumped up, like, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I was also quite excited by that too. And then it kind of didn't live up to that.
Okay. Festivity, guys.
I'm sorry. Staying festive. What I really, really liked, really absolutely loved, was
when it ended.
No, in all fairness, I did like the structure. It was like, so it's not a very long book. You could read it in like 5 hours quite easily.
Yeah. I think 5 is about what it took me.
Every part, there are 7 parts in total, and they're the days leading up and leading up to Christmas and following Christmas. So it follows the action day by day. So it's a very kind of, it has like quite an intentional pacing, which I quite like. And which I don't remember being the case in The Mysterious Affair at Styles. But it has this kind of like, episodic sort of like, I think when you're like very intentional about the time, the timeline, it creates more tension, or it creates more, gives a lot more weight into the things that are developing, into the ways that they're developing. And I guess as well, being centered around Christmas too, you have this kind of, it's a time that everyone is familiar with, and a time that people are familiar with how you should be feeling around this time, and the anticipation of it and the aftermath of it, and that to have this like murder taking place throughout this, something about that which has a little bit more weight behind it. I would say though, it's not like, it's not written as if, there are Christmas trees and decorations lining the halls, and there are presents everywhere, and they're like, at no point is anyone like, oh, when are we gonna open the presents?
Yeah, can I go on to that?
Yeah.
See, I also had the same positive experience with the kind of pacing and the structure of it, and how it was timed into days and everything. And then at some point it occurred to me that there could have been a lot more done with that, because it doesn't actually, except for the fact that they're all invited to come to Christmas, right? That they have like a family reunion for Christmas, so that's why they're there. That's like the only thing why it had to be a Christmas story. There's no like reason why this should take place from like the 22nd to the 28th or whatever it was. I don't even remember exactly, but of December. Yeah. Like it could have literally been all in one day, or spread out over 3 months. It could have been at any time in the year, except for the fact that they're invited for Christmas. So like it it doesn't really matter that any one thing happened on December 24th or 25th or 26th or 27th. It's completely interchangeable, and yeah, that just felt a bit disappointing, I guess.
Yeah, I think to be as charitable as possible during this Christmas time, I would I would say that the whole idea of family reunion is the kind of best excuse for that is during Christmas.
Yes.
And also, yeah, the excuse. So basically, to sum up the kind of beginning of the story, the context, the beginning of the story, Simeon Lee, who's the guy who is murdered, he invites his whole family to come to the house for Christmas, which includes, I think he has like 4 sons, and all his sons he has kind of complicated relationships with. He also invites this young Spanish woman who is like his technically his only granddaughter of another like distant relative, and then this other guy, this random guy, Stephen. Is it Stephen?
Yeah.
The South African guy.
Yeah, Stephen Farr is how he is named at the beginning, and then we find out that he has a different name.
Stephen Farr, who is a South African guy who is the son of one of Simeon's oldest friends.
Ebenezer something.
Ebenezer Farr.
Right, that makes sense. Ebenezer Musk. And then Stephen goes on to invent the Tesla car.
So anyway, the whole reason that these characters would come together, characters who don't get on well with Simeon and characters that don't know Simeon, have never met Simeon before, the best context for that would be during Christmas, during this like charitable time. However, as you say, yes, doesn't really. There's really very little mention of Christmas aside from that. There's not even a mention of snow. Not even any snow. Not even reindeers. Not even Santa coming down the chimney. No one leaves any cookies out. But anyway.
But diamonds.
But yeah, my point is that like, if it weren't that, then you wouldn't be able to have a context where all these people are in the same place who also actually have very complicated relationships with each other and kind of hate each other. You know what I mean?
I guess to be also fair, this criticism is not as much a criticism of the book and more a criticism of us doing this book for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's called Hercule Poirot's Christmas.
It's true. That's
like,
true.
You know, it couldn't be less like ambiguous that this is a Christmas story or like takes place at Christmas. But I mean, we should have kind of anticipated from the beginning with that dedication to the brother-in-law that it wasn't like, oh, you wanted me to do a Christmas story. It was like, oh, you wanted me to do a story with more blood.
Right.
You know. Anyway. So, like I said, we have this family getting together, and it's the sons and all their wives. It's Pilar and Stephen, all in this big mansion together. And what happens?
Well, the old man gets murdered, obviously, because as we know, old men are assholes, so we stab them. Don't do that at home. I'm not endorsing anything. And then we have this very, very classic murder mystery of like, you know, which of the sons hates him the most, or was it an outsider? Locked room murder mystery. How did they turn the key from the outside, kind of thing? And Poirot kind of shows up at the scene through a police connection. We're introduced to him, just having lunch or something with some police higher up. And then we're like, oh, we've just got a note from this county over here where my favorite, I don't know the police ranks, I already forgot, commissioner, not commissioner, you know what I mean, like police, the investigator, right?
Yeah.
He's like, we have this spectacular murder just before Christmas. So that's how Poirot ends up going to the mansion, and the investigation takes its turn. So before we go any further in the story, I think there are a couple of things to comment on. Do you want to start, or?
I don't know what you want to comment on, so...
okay.
Maybe you should take it away.
Okay, fair enough. So the first thing is that from the introduction, or from the first scene really in the story, is the train, which Stephen Farr, the guy who is not related to the family, is
right,
on.
Good point. Yeah,
and where he
it's
meets,
kind of written from his perspective at the beginning.
Yes, and he meets this girl Pilar. I'm not gonna say her name correctly, so I'm just gonna stick with Pilar. I'm gonna pronounce everyone's name wrong. It's Simon and Pilar, and if you don't like that, you can go somewhere else.
I think Pilar is fun.
Okay. And the first impression we get is that this guy is gonna end up murdering someone. That's like very much put into the writing, I feel like, because he's on this train, and it's kind of, you know, there are some lines like, "Oh, I fucking hate England. I don't even like it here. But I've come here to do something, and I'm gonna fucking do it." And then it's like, okay, so obviously he probably wants to kill someone. I don't know. It is like a murder mystery, and this guy is very much framed to be like a very possible criminal from the very beginning, right? So, and then we get to the house. And we kind of go through all the sons and how they have, every single one of them has a terrible relationship with the father. And so then everyone has a motive. But it still feels like decoration, right? I feel like from until like 60% into the book, I was certain that Stephen Farr was the killer, because why the fuck else would we have this introduction?
Yeah. I actually didn't... Like, I mean, I am kind of retarded, so you can probably give it some of this to my retardation. But I mean, maybe it's just the way that I was going about reading this. I wasn't really thinking at any point like who I think the murderer is, and this might be my issue with Agatha Christie generally.
Okay, I think you just read it wrong, because that's kind of the point. You're supposed to figure it out while you go along.
I mean, I guess so, but like the whole point is that you're not supposed to, like, you know, the whole point is that there's all this information which will then suddenly be weaponized to explain exactly why this explanation is correct and everything else is wrong, and you're supposed to be like, "Oh, that's so cool."
Well, I mean, you're not gonna get everything, but it's in these kind of murder mysteries, it's kind of the point to go like, "Oh no, this isn't. She wouldn't have placed this here if this wasn't gonna be used for some reason or something like that." I feel like that's like 80% the fun of it, and
it would have been maybe more fun if I was doing that.
So just little spoilers. Do we just want to say who end up killing her, or? Not her, the old guy.
I mean, sure.
So the killer turns out to be, skip this part if you want to read the book. The killer turns out to be the policeman, the local policeman, who turns out to be also a son by this guy, because we're told like he sleeps around with a lot of women in his youth. So clearly this policeman was like an illegitimate child, and ends up killing Simon. And I felt so good, because at a very early point in the book, I was like, the murderer has to be the policeman. There's no other way. And then I dismissed that idea, because we were told, like, at some point we were told that he went out of because the policeman left, so he was called over. The guy dies, or maybe not yet, or later. The policeman leaves, and then everyone hears a scream, runs up and checks to see him dead. So it's like, okay, the policeman had the biggest like opportunity to do it, but we're also told that the butler like overheard a phone call of like him calling over the policeman that the diamonds are stolen, which then later in the explanation, Agatha Christie cleared up like, no, it's actually the other way around. It's probably the policeman called the old guy, not the old guy called the policeman, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I felt kind of manipulated. I was like, because I was onto the right clue, and then she like made it go away in my mind. And I was like, I could have figured this out.
Right. Yeah, I mean...
Meanwhile, Nick was thinking of fucking lasagna.
I mean, I was just reading it. I was just reading to find out, and but I mean that I don't know. The whole like the reason it's kind of hard to really get into this without talking about what I find frustrating about Agatha Christie anyway.
Just start bring the hate. Let's go.
Well, there are all the details like. Okay. I was thinking about this a lot whilst I was watching it. Whilst I was reading this.
He watched the movie. He just exposed himself.
No. The Poirot movie that you mentioned, and also I was thinking actually more about Knives Out, which is like it's a great movie, and it's clearly takes so much from Agatha Christie. It's actually kind of honestly in some ways like in terms of the way that it sets up the characters, and it's almost one-to-one this book, to be honest. The thing that in a way I kind of almost think that like visual media is more suited to this kind of story, because there's something or at least the way that Agatha Christie writes, it's very difficult to like slip information in that you wouldn't pay that much attention to when you're writing every single word yourself. Absolutely. Versus when you have like a frame that you're looking at. And one of the things that kind of was like bothering me at the beginning was this constant mention of like some of the male characters throwing their heads back and laughing, and also tracing their finger across their jaw. Which we then later learn is like somehow some like genetically inherited behavior, because it turns out Stephen Farr is also the child of Simeon as well as the policeman, and all of them exhibit this same behavior of like throwing their head back when they laugh and tracing their fucking index finger down their jaw. And not only did it stand out a lot when I was reading it, I was like, why is this coming up so much? But it also just felt like such a stupid, like unrealistic, like explanation for, to like, this just doesn't happen. Like, On that point also, throughout the thing, Poirot kind of fidgets with like family portraits, and he's like, something's going on here. And then at the end, when he reveals the murderer, he goes like, everyone, have you looked at these guys? They, by the way, look exactly the same. And everyone's like, whoa. And it's like, well, maybe when you were describing all the characters to the reader earlier, you could have mentioned that they look similar, and then, I don't know. I mean, obviously then you kind of would have given it away, but it just feels like such a dirty thing. Like, if you were actually there and you saw them, you would have noticed this immediately, but because it's a book, we're only told at the end that they all look the fucking same.
and that therefore they're
Yeah.
related. They're probably brothers, right? So yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I found this much more egregious in The Mysterious Affair at Styles.
Oh shit. Okay.
It really felt just kind of like, and this, I don't know. I just find this all like really tedious in a book, in book form at least, because it is just like it's just all this information, and you're like, oh, okay, like, yeah, you did mention that, like, okay, fair enough, like, you did. It feels like more of an exercise in like how the author covered their ass earlier in the book by including some information and hoping that you kind of didn't pay attention to it. Feels like the whole kind of exercise is like the author trying to outwit you and then explain how they outwitted you at the end.
See, this is interesting.
I guess is the whole point of this like mystery genre, but I don't know. I just find it like feels quite masturbatory, I think.
Damn, we've gone to the big M word.
No more fucking Christmas cheer. Gloves are off.
I'm wondering now, because when I was really young and kind of starting to read books, really the first books I really seriously read were all the Sherlock Holmes, and I read all of them. I read all the Sherlock Holmes books and stories and everything, and I never really had this criticism that we just talked about, like that the author was kind of covering his ass and all that. So not all of them were amazing, even when I read them back then, but yeah, and I never had this feeling that we just described, you know, where it's like, oh, all this detail. Oh, yeah, I guess you did say that. So, okay, there we go. So I'm wondering if I went back.
Right.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I went back now and read them again, if they actually were quite different in that sense, or if I just wasn't reading critically enough. But yeah. But I think they don't have that element. I don't think so.
Maybe we should read some Sherlock Holmes for a future episode. Yeah.
I'm sure there's one that takes place on or around Christmas.
Yeah. So, yeah, the explanation given, as you kind of mentioned earlier, was that the superintendent, his name is Sugden. I think he came over at the request of Simeon earlier in the night before he was murdered, and then actually murdered him at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Left the house, and then came back when the body was discovered.
Yeah.
Oh god, this is so stupid. So the explanation given is that he slit Simeon's throat, and then he rearranged all the furniture to make it look like a big thing had taken place. He used a piece of cord to kind of put underneath all this teetering furniture, so that later on when he came back, he would pull the cord from outside and all the furniture would fall down to make it sound as if this had just taken place. And then the last thing is this like pigskin balloon like excuse for a plot.
Yeah.
Which like somehow he's contrived it so that when he pulls the string, it also like bursts this balloon, which like is made of, which makes a sound like a pig dying.
Yeah, I think this is like a generational issue, because I even forgot the word that she used, but in the book it's described like this is like a common toy for kids at the carnival, that like you like let the air out and it sounds like a scary scream. And Yeah, so obviously, being in the 21st century reading this, you're like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is a schmirkly dirk? I've never heard of this in
Okay,
my
no, no,
life.
no, 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 no. But so that is true. But like, imagine if there was like a contemporary one where it was like he connected his phone to the Alexa, and then he played a screaming noise through the Alexa to make it sound like someone was dying in the room. You'd be like, what the fuck is this bullshit? This is so stupid.
I mean, I don't know. It's not great, but it's not really the kind of big reveal you're looking for. Yeah, but it's still plausible, I feel like. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Um,
I mean, that is like the tension in these books is like what is plausible and what is like taking it too far.
Right.
Because you want something that's like fantastic and like, smart and well thought out, but you also actually want to be able to believe what's happening.
Yeah,
So I think-
it's more of like a psychological and like what would the author do kind of reasoning in figuring it out as a reader, more so than taking the actual facts into account. Like
So how do you mean?
like you would think, like, why would he at this point mention that the policeman looks very tall and handsome, just like Harry, the other son? Or why would she at this point like mention that Poirot is interested in the policeman's mustache? And why even are we as the reader, like, obviously we're talking to all the suspects, but usually it's Poirot and maybe like an like police inspector who's like kind of a dummy. But in this one we have Poirot, the inspector, and this other policeman, and like almost like half of the dialogue in the book is between Poirot and this policeman. So like clearly this guy is like somehow very related to this thing, right? Like she wouldn't have written it that way, and so that's why as the reader you're kind of thinking, oh, it might be the policeman. It's not that the facts which are discovered lead you to that conclusion. It's the way the book is written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, which is also frustrating in itself because it's like,
Yeah.
you're like, could I really even like guess this with any, like the. Yeah, which is like another thing as well. It's like, you said earlier, like you're trying to guess whilst you go along, like who the killer is. But if like you don't know what this fucking pigskin thing is, and if you're like, at that point, like you could kind of contrive almost anything. I think, like if you're willing to go to the point of being like, this guy made like a balloon, and like made it trigger with like a piece of string that made all the furniture fall over.
Right.
And like it all at that point you can kind of just, I feel like you can kind of just do anything.
Well, it's a tricky dynamic with this kind of thing, because obviously if you can actually figure it out like fairly comfortably, then Poirot wouldn't be like this amazing detective character, right? Like if the reader is like, obviously it's some. No, I'm not trying to undermine your point. I'm just
I
saying,
know,
like,
I know.
It's a tricky dynamic,
But what I'm saying is that that trickiness is what is supposed to make these books great. In my mind, like from the way that I am reading and understanding them, is that like, it's cool, the idea that you can give everything you would need to understand who did this, by passing it under the viewer's nose.
Mm-hmm.
You read everything that you read contains the information that you need to figure out this murder. But the fact is that you don't have everything that you need to figure out who the murderer is here, and so you're kind of just like, you have some of what you need, but then the rest is just explained to you at the end, and you just have to be like, oh, okay, fine. A much more like impressive, like, worthy of the Queen of Mystery kind of name thing for me would be like if you could actually like write a book where all the facts are there that you need to know, and it's just a case of, arranging them and like looking at them properly. Because the whole thing is like Poirot is like, his whole thing is like, I deduce that I find the truth through reason and logic, and I wait for the facts to appear. That's his whole thing, and that's like what makes him amazing. But if you're being withheld, it just feels kind of like cheap.
I will say, if we're judging it by that metric, I think the book actually did a pretty fair job. And as I was trying to figure out, like, as I said, like, at one point I was pretty certain that it was the policeman, but then I didn't take into account that they could have lied about the phone call, like, because it's always like, who is giving you this information? Like, if it was like the narrator telling us when this happened, then it would be a fact, but it was like someone else who said that the phone call happened from Simon to the policeman, not the other way around. So obviously that could have been a lie if it was the policeman himself saying that. So that was like the only thing keeping me from sticking to that conclusion. But like, other than that, I think, like, and then the pigskin thing was kind of like okay, is this dumb, or do I just not get this because this doesn't make sense in the 21st century anymore because no one knows what the fuck this is? Like, if we read this in 1938, would we be like, oh my god, yeah, of course, the Schmirklendirk, I play with that all the time.
The Schmirklendirk.
Yeah.
How clever. Yeah, fair enough. I will say that I wasn't expecting everyone to be related / different people.
Right.
So it turns out that Pilar is also not Pilar, and it was actually Pilar's traveling companion, and Pilar got killed because it was like the Spanish Civil War.
I didn't expect that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're kind of fed this information at the end of the book, and all this stuff comes to light, and everything gets thrown into the air because you realize that everyone has kind of been lying in their own way. Stephen Farr actually isn't Stephen Farr.
Also, that one was very well hinted at throughout the book, and I figured that out like halfway.
That he wasn't Stephen Farr.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was a son, but it was like, I thought that he was probably related, because I remember there was like one very specific instance where I felt like she kind of gave it away too easily almost. What was it? I can't remember, but there were multiple references fairly early on that there's something there.
So we have this kind of moment at the end of the book where everything gets thrown into the air, and you're like, who is it? Who is it? And then you actually kind of, which something that I quite liked was like, you have this like moment where you have like, everyone is just kind of lying, even though the lies have no bearing on the murder and don't relate to the murder in any way. And just this kind of like general level of dishonesty that everyone has approached this whole thing in the beginning.
I thought the George one was pretty good.
Yeah, and just that there's something like quite. I think there's something a little bit like deeper, interesting about that idea of like. Yeah, everyone kind of approaching these normal social situations, and they're either pretending to be other people, or they're like lying in some way or another, like putting on a facade. Makes it kind of feel a bit more realistic, I guess.
And even at the beginning of the book, there was when Poirot was talking to the other police guy. He said something like, "Oh, everyone lies. It's just a matter of like separating the important lies from the non-important ones." And that kind of came back in the end.
Yeah. True.
I really liked the dynamic with all the sons and the wives, and like how all the character flaws in the sons are kind of reflected in what kind of wife they chose, and how they have like different. Like, I felt like all the characters were like just genuinely very strong characters. Like, they were very different, very interesting in their own regard, and
yeah,
that like wife-husband dynamic made a lot of sense. So that was pretty cool.
I did think there were kind of a bit, maybe too many. Like 4 sons is quite a lot, and they're all boys, and they all have like they're all called like Alfred or David. Yeah,
they're all called. No, one was called Alfred and one was called David.
no, I mean they don't have memorable names. Their names are like they're all, I don't know.
I didn't have an issue
David,
with the names.
Harry, and what was the other one?
George.
Alfred, David, Harry, George. Yeah, like David, Harry, George. Those are like, when I was in high school, there were like at least 3 people, maybe 4 people with each of those names.
I mean, I don't know. It's 1930s.
Imagine if it was like Heinrich.
I mean, it's not in Germany. I don't know.
Whatever.
I felt like the names were pretty fair. I don't know. But
okay, I mean that's fine. You have your opinion.
except Pilar, because what kind of name is that?
It's a kind of rice. Oh no, that's pilaf.
Oh, okay.
Also, I love how like there's this like with her, like she's this like enchanting Spanish woman, and like at the beginning it's like the Simeon is like, everyone's commenting how like Simeon is taken to his granddaughter, and like it's kind of a bit weird. It's definitely a bit like, I don't know.
Yeah, she's
like,
from the very beginning, she's written to be like extremely hot and like a temptress and like just like a sex bomb kind of character. And Agatha Christie covered her ass here by never really saying how old she was. She could be anywhere in between 12 and 17.
I thought she would be like 20, but actually, yeah, you're probably right. She was probably underage.
I mean, just the way she speaks is so incredibly childish, and also she is like often described as a little girl. But then other passages are like, I mean, Harry, her brother, is like, "Oh, she's so hot. I wish she wasn't related to me." And then at the end, when it turns out she's not related to her, he's like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're not related to me."
Yeah. So we have to
Pornhub Christmas.
We have to talk about what's his name, Sugden's motive.
Right. Another problem.
This is kind of silly. The motive given, this is the only motive that I could find in this last chapter, is as follows. All your life, Sugden, you've resented the wrong your father did you. I think you determined long ago to kill him. You come from the next county, not very far away. Doubtless your mother, with the money Simeon Lee so generously gave her, was able to find a husband who would stand father to her child. Easy for you to enter the Middleshire police force and await your opportunity. A police superintendent has a grand opportunity of committing a murder and getting away with it. So the motive is to kill him and not to steal the diamonds. The diamonds were a diversion. And somehow there's like, I mean, I guess there's all this other information, all these other bits of evidence that point to the police officer being the murderer, but there's kind of like a bit of a lack of psychological profiling here, I feel.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like we're kind of settled for this revenge killing without really knowing Sugden.
Because every other character has, except for like Pilar, I guess, has incredibly good motive. Like they all, like we go into how much the sons hate him for all their different reasons, and like it would make so much sense for each of them to kill the father. And then it's just this other son who his only motive is that they're blood related. That's it. Like there's literally like no I mean, there's
Yeah.
basically no motive at this point. I mean, it's like he had an illegitimate child a long time ago, and that's why you waited
One of many.
40, one of many. That's why you waited 40 years to kill him. Like, what?
Yeah.
And like, you didn't even take the diamonds. Like, come on, at least take, like, it's like £10,000, which, in today's money is probably like £10 million or something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, you'd rather just what? Yeah, that kind of made no
Yeah.
sense.
And I guess, it's like, it's very clearly premeditated, the whole murder. The door is like locked from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made to look as if, there's an attempt to make it look like someone came in, and just to kind of confuse, of trying to create like a very confusing set of set of evidence and circumstances, deliberately trying to confuse and befuddle, and then all for the purpose of just like killing this guy, even though, by all intents and purposes, he's actually like supported the family, supported his Sugden's like childhood. Obviously it's not a great situation, but like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Seems
it's like the only son that actually has like status in the world. Out of all the sons, it's the only one that actually had a successful life, and he resents him for some reason. I don't know.
And also, like, why not, like, is this really like the most optimal way to kill this guy? Is this really the best way to kill this guy? And also, this guy's gonna die anyway. This guy's like already
He's really
described
old
as an invalid.
Yeah.
Why? Is there really anything gained from killing him? Is there no easier way of killing him? Like,
and there's
like a highwayman.
It just happened to be the day that Henry came back, who was considered lost abroad, and he just came back after 20 years randomly on this day. I mean, not entirely randomly, but there's no way the police officer could have known that, right? It's just like, and then also Stephen Farr and Pilar and everything. So it's just like, there's a bit of too much coincidence going on. And there was one really good comment I read online in a forum, because I did some digging, because I was also frustrated by the lack of motive. And someone pointed out something else that was really, really good insight, that this might be a little flaw in the logic of the writer. There's really no way that the policeman Sugden could have known about the diamonds, because we were told in the explanation that actually it was Sugden who called the old man with like a fake pretense of doing an investigation
Police
or
charity.
something.
It was collecting. I think it was the pretense was collecting some charity thing. No.
Right. And then he came over, but somehow he ended up killing him and opening the safe and stealing the diamonds. And it's like, how do you know there are diamonds in that safe, and how did you open the safe? It's like, it makes no sense, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then he also hid them in the garden with like the other pebbles that are, because like rough diamonds that they look like pebbles, and so he hid them amongst them, which, I don't know, felt like a very, first of all,
very intelligent.
When did this happen? Because he clearly couldn't have done it. I don't know. Yeah, it's like another premeditated thing that he couldn't have like really known, like how to open the safe, that there are diamonds in there, that they look like the pebbles and everything. So
making those decisions on the spot to take them, and I mean, even making the decision to take them feels like a huge diversion from the original plan of like this whole murder. And then also deciding not to actually take them, but to yeah,
Yeah.
deciding that having the evidence in the house so that it would eventually be discovered is preferable. It's kind of odd. Having, I mean, it makes sense that you would do that, but it also just, yeah, like you said, like assessing these diamonds, assessing the how they look, and then having the kind of quick thinking to go, oh, there are also pebbles in the garden, which I somehow know, and they look similar, and they would do well to be put there. It's like kind of, yeah, not very believable.
So I wanted to quickly talk about the writing itself. So first of all, compared to a lot of other stuff, mostly horror, I guess, that we've read, like Turn of the Screw, the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, the House on Haunted Hill. Compared to that, I found this one super easy to read, very just like enjoyable going through the actual text, flipping the pages. I mean, I was reading a PDF as well, but you know what I mean. It's like, it just flows very well. It doesn't feel like a drag to read for 90% of the time. It's just like a very like, oh, the time flies. I've already been reading this for an hour kind of thing.
And agreed.
So it was super, super comfortable and well written from that standpoint. One criticism that I do have is that, especially toward the beginning, we kind of start out by a fairly lengthy description of all the characters and where they are. It's like, this son is here and he has this wife, and they talk about how they don't like the father. And this son is here and he has this wife, and blah, 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 blah. And then it takes quite a while, which is fine. It's exposition. Then Poirot comes, the murder happens. Now he calls everyone one by one into the room. And they kind of go through the exact same information that we already know for every single character. Which I guess it makes sense. It's an interrogation, but just for the reading feeling, it was a bit of a drag.
Yeah.
Also, they didn't even take the couples. Because earlier, at least in the exposition, we had the couples, two people at once. But now it was like the brother and the wife, and then the brother and the other wife, and the other brother and the other wife, and the other brother and the other wife, and this guy, and Pilar, and Stephen Farr. And everyone is just like regurgitating the same information, like, what happened? I heard the sound. I ran to the room. Blah, blah, blah. And I guess the point is to like compare each person's slightly different account of what happened and be like, oh, what are they focusing on? What are they leaving out? But it's just like 80 pages of pretty much the same information over and over again. So yeah, basically very well written, but that was my kind of quarrel with it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was kind of like, it felt, because you're kind of given so much information at the beginning of the book, and you don't really know, you don't really know top from bottom. I did kind of like how there was this regurgitating of information, but also I think it was like, what was, because it's not all. I think one of the things that was interesting about that is because is that not everything everyone said was actually true to the things that we were told by the benevolent narrator when they're coming from their mouth. Especially with like Stephen. You're given this like setting where they're all kind of telling they're all telling their version of the truth, but in some cases you're like, are they actually really like saying what is true, or are they kind of making things up, or they're trying to embellish things in certain ways to make themselves look better? But yeah, I don't know. I get your point.
Yeah, and it was kind of again at the, I don't know if this, I know it wasn't the final exposition or not the final reveal, but there was some point later in the book where they did it again. So yeah, I found that there was just a little bit of a lot of that, I felt like. Yeah, but
fair enough.
No, I get your point. Yeah, and it's, I guess if you would read it a second time, you could, yeah, take note of that. Like, think more about who could be lying right now, which is not as fun if you know who's lying, but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess, yeah, if someone tells you that before you read the book for the first time, like, think about who could be lying, then maybe it's a bit,
that is
more enjoyable.
okay. I think that's probably a good place to leave it.
That is a good place to leave it.
Any final notes? Final thoughts?
I thought it was nice at the end also how the brothers, who were, all very flawed and kind of all their lives kind of sucked in their own different ways, how at the end the households actually all kind of came together. Like, I really like the Alfred and Lydia thing, where Alfred is kind of this weak son who was always obedient, and Lydia, his wife, was not at all happy with that, and just like, why are you going so far for your dad? It's like, is it just because you want the inheritance, or do you, like, is this just like some father-son obligation you feel? He's trampling all over you. And Lydia is kind of described as more the smart one. And then at the end, Alfred goes like, oh, I really put you through a lot of shit all these years, huh? And then she was like,
Right.
oh, but Alfred, I do love you. It's like, don't you get it? I'm still here because I'm actually enjoying our relationship. Like, we actually have a good marriage. And it's like, oh, Christmas, yay. That was a nice touch.
Enough.
And all the brothers kind of making up a little bit. So
Yeah. True.
it's like a mini happy end.
Yes.
Instead of the motive for the murder, we got a little happy end.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, I guess we will leave it there.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you have a lovely Christmas and New Year, and we will catch you in 2026.
Don't kill your dad.
Stay woke. Bye.